it's all about pain-free, but it's also more about just like deepening our intimacy with ourselves, with our partners, with, how all of this comes together in pleasure and connection to not even have to worry about, this one like off limits thing that I can't do.
I'm Rachel, and you're listening to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. Been on a little holiday hiatus over here, but it feels good to be back. I have Jess on the podcast with me today, who is an occupational therapist and the founder of Pain-Free Intimacy. And this is a place where she works with Vaginismus as a Vaginismus recovery coach to help women from around the world break free of the pain and the frustration of vaginismus and getting them back to enjoying intimacy the way that was intended. She has background in nervous system regulation, which I'm really excited to touch on today in this episode, as well as chronic pain management. And then she uses a very unique approach to address vaginismus. And so if you've not heard of what vaginismus is before, we're going to get into all of that on the podcast. And I'm really excited for people to hear this. And I know this episode is going to be a great resource because so often of my clients are actually experiencing vaginismus and they don't even know that that's what it is. They don't have a name to put to it, let alone do they understand like the reasons, the symptoms, the treatments, all of that. So that's what we're diving into on this podcast today. So I'm really excited to have Jess. You can follow her on Instagram at painfree.intimacy. Definitely give her a follow. Her content is wonderful. And let's get in this. Enough of me jabbing. Let's get Jess on here. Okay. Thanks for listening, y'all. All right. Hi, Jess from Florida. So jealous that you're in the warm weather and we're here in the cold weather right now. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. Sorry you're enduring the cold weather.
Yes, yeah, that's okay. Every time of this time of year, I'm like, why do we live here? And then I'm reminded because we love our family and all, all the things. So there's the good pieces of it, I guess.
It's funny because that's what I ask every summer here. It's like, why do we do this?
Oh, that's yeah.
So hot. But then in the winter, I'm like, this is why. Don't need a jacket.
Well, good. Okay, so we are talking all things vaginismus today, which I'm so excited. Again, I heard you on another podcast and from another colleague of mine, and I thought, I need to have an episode like this that I can send to clients or just listeners that are already fans of the show. They're going to see this come across in 2024 and think like, what the hell is she talking about now? And it's going to be this incredible resource for people to be able to come back to. So thank you. And this is something that you specialize in. This is something that you see on a daily basis. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and just how you got into this work.
Yeah, so I am an occupational therapist is my background. And I've been an occupational therapist since 2014. And I'm also a vaginismus recovery coach. And this all kind of stemmed because I had vaginismus, and it was such a struggle for me. So I guess first off, for those who don't know what vaginismus is when your vaginal wall muscles involuntarily contract or kind of close off with kind of something being inserted. So the key here is it's involuntary. It has to do with your pelvic floor muscles, but there's a lot more that comes to play here rather than just those muscles down there. And so it's frustrating because there's so many different ways that this can present. It looks different for a lot of people. I have some clients who are able to insert tampons but can't insert a penis, and some who can actually insert a penis but can't insert a dilator. And so it's just kind of funny how it presents differently. Some can insert everything. It just burns and it stings and it's frustratingly miserable. And so it's kind of a difficult thing to kind of put your finger on, but it tends to be more of an umbrella term. So for me, I found out I had vaginismus on my wedding night. Well, I didn't know what it was called, but I knew there was something wrong on my wedding night because, and then even through our honeymoon, sex was just not possible. It was painful and got that wall kind of response. I could have probably guessed something was going on beforehand because before we got married, like tampons had hurt and been a struggle. I had to start going to the gynecologist starting at the age of 13, and speculums and all of that was really challenging and painful as well. I kind of just thought that when I get married, the penis would be the savior and fix me. Like it's just going to spread everything out and make it great, right?
Mm.
No, it didn't. So I actually remember we went to southern Turkey on our honeymoon, which Turkey's beautiful. I love it. And I remember putting Skype credits on my phone. This is back in 2011 to call my gynecologist and be like, okay, excuse me, how is this supposed to work? It's not working. And she told me, she goes, you just need to like relax, drink some wine, use more lube. It'll be fine. You're just anxious. It'll all be okay. Well, it wasn't okay. It was still a problem. And 4 years later, I'm still struggling. This is still a problem. It's still an issue. I talked to some of my friends who thought like, I don't know what's going on, Jess. Yeah, that is not my experience. I had talked to definitely like 5, 6 different gynecologists who just were kind of like, everything looks good, which is kind of classic what we hear when we have vaginismus. We expect an answer, and the gynecologist is like, I don't know, it all looks good from my perspective. So I'd heard that over and over again. And then finally, I actually went and saw my first male gynecologist, and he was the one who mumbled the word vaginismus, which was like, oh, okay. This is a diagnosis. There's something here. Like, I'm not crazy. Thought I was just so broken and so alone in this. And so from there, I kind of shuffled on over to pelvic floor therapy, where I spent the next 4 years, basically.
Mhm.
I saw pelvic floor therapists, I saw sex therapists, I saw counselors, I saw family marriage counselors. Everyone and their mother was talking about vagina, but no one was really fixing my vagina. So it was exhausting, especially when I myself am a therapist. And so it's like, I should be good at this. I'm doing all my home exercise things. I'm doing everything I should be doing, and I'm not able to get past this. So, long story short, after like 8 years, was just so beyond frustrated. I was, just questioning my own self-worth. I questioned whether I should even gotten married. I was bitter. I was angry. I was pushing my husband away and like self-preservation. And my husband's amazing. He's the most incredibly patient, supportive guy in the world. And none of this ever came from him. It just kind of all came internally.
Yeah.
But thankfully, at the time, I was working as an occupational therapist with patients with chronic pain and chronic conditions using a nervous system-based approach. So like many healthcare providers, we don't listen to our own advice a lot of time. And so I decided maybe I should listen to my own advice. Maybe take a step back. I'm going to kind of look at my situation and apply some of this to that. So I did that. And within 3 to 4 months, we were able to transition to pain-free sex, which was incredible and amazing and shocking to both me and my husband. And so still to this day, it's been like 5 years, can still have great pain-free sex. I like it. I actually have a sex drive. I want sex now, where there was a time where I was like, I could go the rest of my life without sex and be totally happy, which I never recommend saying to your partner, but I now want it and I like it and it's great. And I don't use dilators anymore other than to teach others how to do this now. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a long story short, but yeah.
But what a long journey. And so many people, I think, would have probably given up at some point and just felt like, there are no answers, or I'm not getting answers. Like, this is just me. And probably people listening right now might even be in that boat. Like, I'm just done, but I think there's, to be able to find people like you, and what, another thing that you mentioned, like the amount of healthcare professionals that just say, drink more wine, relax, use lube. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that, either from clients, other people I podcast with. It's part of their story. And it's like, yeah, that is so much, like, such bullshit, right? We're going to get into it on this show today, like understanding the dynamics behind something like this. And I love that you work on the nervous system too, because it is more than just the physical component of it. There is also the mental component to it too, right? So yeah, so here you are. So now you're having pain-free sex. I know that's your Instagram handle too. I told people, I'm like, make sure to go give her a follow, because I mean, what a catchy thing. How many people out there, again, have pain with sex? And so to come across your profile, I'm like, yes, like that is what I want. Let me follow real quick. But yeah, so okay, so we know what vaginismus is. And so tell us a little bit, like, how would somebody know that they, like, this is something that they have, like, this, okay, this is me, this could be my diagnosis?
Yeah. So, it's like I said, it's kind of hard because it is quite an umbrella of a term. And honestly, like vaginismus is no longer in the DSM. So it's not an official diagnosis anymore. So if you're out there trying to seek out that word from a doctor, you may or may not get it. It's now under the general umbrella of genitopelvic pain penetration disorder, GPPPD, which is a bunch of different sexual pain things that are kind of hard to classify. So they all get lumped under this one. I still prefer to use the word vaginismus because I think it does narrow in a little bit more of what we're dealing with here. But typically with vaginismus, again, there's a spectrum. I have some clients who can insert absolutely nothing. We get no fingernail, we get no finger, we get no tampon, not even a Q-tip. We get nothing in. And what's happening there is the pelvic floor muscles at the entrance are just completely kind of closing off, giving that wall and saying, not coming in. And so if you try and force it, then you get a lot of pain. And so I have some of clients that I work with in that situation. Then I have all the way to the other side where anything's possible to be inserted, but we still get those vaginal wall muscles constricting a bit. And when we kind of push into that constriction, we get burning, stinging, rubbing, ripping, sandpaper. Those are some of the common phrases that I hear. And a lot of times those clients have been to the gynecologist, they've ruled out other things that could structurally be wrong. It's just kind of like, I don't know, is the answer. They're given some topical creams or they're given, try a different type of lube. We don't have a lot of answers. It's been years of them experiencing this. And now we're into a chronic pain kind of syndrome where we're getting pain as the result of penetration. And your brain has learned, oh, we're inserting this something again. So yeah, I remember how this works. Let's fire the pain thresholds and the pain like stimulators, and we get that burning sensation. And then in between, you could be able to do tampons your whole life, but then you tried on your wedding night or your first time and you met that wall. Maybe eventually after some trying, you were able to push past the wall, but it's still not fun. So there's a whole kind of spectrum of what I get to work with and what vaginismus might be including. So yeah.
Yeah. And so somebody's journey through this, so their first step essentially would be probably gynecologist. And what could people mention to the gynecologist even after hearing this and being like, I think I might have this. If somebody went into their gynecologist office and said like, hey, I think I have vaginismus, like, what can we do here? Do you think they might get better answers or better luck rather than saying like, this is what's happening and kind of waiting for them to name it?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I think I've heard all of it. Like some clients will mention to their gynecologist, like, hey, I looked it up and this is what I think it is. And so the gynecologist will be like, no one uses that term anymore. That's not a diagnosis. And they kind of write it off.
Mm-hmm.
They're not wrong. Like, yes, technically it's not an official diagnostics code anymore. And then some will be like, oh, you know what? That probably would explain why everything looks good. So it could go either way. The first step I have to say, yes, go to a gynecologist. We need to rule out there's not anything seriously wrong. That can be hard because if you have vaginismus, the gynecologist is one of your nemesis. Like, they are going to stick something up you probably. And so for a lot of us that have vaginismus, we might have a, kind of visceral response to that. We don't want that. That's not, it's not going to go well. We know it's going to hurt. We know we're going to get that wall. If that's you, and if you've been to the gynecologist and you haven't had a great experience, I don't force my clients to go back and get that diagnosis. Because going back and seeing someone that's going to continue to potentially gaslight you or just tell you to use more lube or it's all in your head, that just adds layers to how complicated this can be. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great if you can find a gynecologist who can be supportive and helpful in this journey. They're out there for sure. And then there are others where it's just like, it's exhausting and it can add more layers. For those who are interested in going to a gynecologist, I do recommend for you to find a trauma-informed gynecologist.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't have a history of trauma or sexual abuse or anything, it's still really good because vaginismus sometimes does fall under that trauma category where your body's reacting out of a nervous system visceral response. And having a gynecologist who understands that better is going to probably offer more compassionate care and understanding. So you can always just Google trauma-informed gynecologist near me, and hopefully there's one in your area.
Yeah. Oh, what a great recommendation. I wouldn't even have thought to search something like that. And I know trauma-informed therapists, but I did not even think that would be a thing for gynecologists as well, or even many medical professionals,
You would think it would be like day one of medical school, trauma informed. But there are some programs out there I hear that are better at that, especially with gynecology. I think UNC Chapel Hill, they specialize in like trauma informed gynecological services. So they're out there. I really feel like that should be a basic requirement for all gynecologists, but
Yeah.
it's probably getting there. It's probably the market is changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So maybe gynecologist would be a first step. I'm thinking through, so maybe PCP, and then then I know a lot of insurances, like to see a pelvic floor physical therapist, you need the referral to get in there unless you're going to do private pay. So would somebody go to a PCP and then ask for a referral of that nature?
Yeah, you could do PCP, your primary care doctor, and ask for a referral for pelvic floor therapy. That's probably the best bet because different there. I mean, it depends on what your insurance requires. My insurance will let me walk into a therapy clinic and just start getting care without the referral, but most I think need the referral from the either PCP or a gynecologist, some kind of provider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had many pelvic floor physical therapists on the podcast, and episodes specific related to pelvic floor dysfunction. But so often people don't even know that that's a thing. And so to me, pelvic floor physical therapists are like the holy grail. I feel like if you can skip all the other things that generally you have to go through before getting to pelvic floor PT, the better. I just think it, like, just going right to that direction is, and this is my personal opinion. So if you don't agree, that's okay. Or if someone doesn't agree, that's okay. But truly, I just feel like I don't know, they're just like some special people. Like they just really have some good knowledge. Like they know what they're doing. And I think most of them are not coming from like Western medicine, toxic, like you mentioned the word gaslighting. They're not coming from that place,
Yeah. Well, if you work in such an intimate zone,
Yeah.
with, kind of the bigger things in life, sex, bowel and bladder, pregnancy, like these things are all kind of very personal
Yeah.
things. I think it does lend itself to be a certain type of therapist that's a little more open-minded, I think, and a little more compassionate. Yeah. But I feel like that should be all healthcare workers too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so you mentioned, things like trauma, you talk about working with the nervous system. And so how much of vaginismus is physical versus mental?
Mm. Ew, that's that's a good one.
I'm sure it's not like a blanketed answer. Like it's 50-50, right? It's probably different for each person, but I guess more so like, can you speak onto like why the mental side comes into play?
Yeah, so I think like part of my journey and what I offer now is realizing that vaginismus isn't all in your vagina. It's also not all in your head. Because a lot of times, you go to pelvic floor therapy expecting that to be the answer. For some, it is the answer for vaginismus. For many, it's not. It's not the whole picture. And so then your pelvic floor therapist may graduate you, and you're not really at your goal, and they kind of just say, "Well, I think at this point, it's all in your head." And so then you go see your therapist. Then you try and get the whole all in your head piece figured out. And the thing is, like, you're not limited down to just your vagina, and you're not limited just to your head. Like your body is way more complex than that. It's way more holistic. And thank goodness that it is. So with vaginismus, it's not a specific place. It's not like a sprained ankle where you just need to do your exercises and get on crutches and, do this formula to get past it. It's like your whole body is kind of sprained and it's manifesting and showing up in your vagina. So I often say vaginismus is the loudest screaming symptom of kind of a greater body dysregulation that's happening. So we do need to do everything. We do need to do kind of the whole picture. So yes, and this is what I specialize in with my clients is we do that whole kind of holistic perspective where we are going to do some of those pelvic floor exercises. We're going to do some of the breathing relaxation of the pelvic floor. We're going to do, the dilator work with that. We're also going to do some of that cognitive behavioral therapy, kind of like the training kind of stuff of what are we processing and how do we go through that. But we're also going to do body work. We're going to do nervous system. We're going to do somatic. We're going to do like how your body's interpreting things and how we can do, get our body to not go into fight or flight freak out mode when it's time for something to be inserted. We're also going to do the sensory system. We're going to take into account all the things that are coming in from our sensory environment, how our body's processing that, and then the response that our body's giving as a result of that. All of this matters. We're also going to look at the social model. Partners, we're going to look at your environment. We're going to look at any kind of like social stigmas you may have, cultural norms, and the environment that surrounds that. So I think the fun thing about being an occupational therapist is OTs tend to be more whole body oriented. We see the whole person within the occupation, and the occupation here is sex,
Mhm.
um, or I guess tampons or whatever it is, but usually it's sex.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at the whole person within the context of sex, not just those pelvic floor muscles, not just the brain. We got to put it all into a package, and that's how we're finally going to be able to kind of get everything on board. So we get a body that's supported and supports us back. So
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I need to fly to Florida. Like I need you to be my person to help me with the things that I'm experiencing now because I love that approach. And I think, yeah, and many of my clients that I work with that have this, they've gone through the physical side, same thing. Like they've done their pelvic floor PT for however long, and then it's almost like they get you as far as you can go, and then it's like, okay, now, like you said, like here now, go work on the head part of it. Um, and I think, yeah, I really do think that there can be such, what is the word I'm looking for? Just progress. That's not exact word, but when somebody's doing pelvic floor PT or OT or whatever it is, like working on this thing while doing the mental side of it, right? Like you said, it's all, and then they're maybe also going to yoga or meditations or doing some sort of breath work and practices like that on their own to be able to hit more of the somatic side of it. Because I agree with you. I think a lot of the things that we experience on the physical component is trauma stored in our body that is literally screaming to like be released. And so then it shows up and it manifests in these different ways. So, and a lot of, people hear that and they're like, that sounds very woo woo, Rachel. Like, but I'm not the only one that thinks this,
I
I
know.
swear.
And I thought it was woo-woo too on myself. And I started with just doing positive affirmations, which was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I going to say positive things about my body? Like, come on. But I remember my first affirmation was just like, I was designed to be a sexual being. Like, I was designed to be this way. And I could not. I would try and speak that. And it's like, I don't believe that. Like, men are the sexual ones. I'm just needed, like, I'm not, no, God did not design me to be sexual. Like, that's so weird to think about. And I just couldn't. And I was like, it's so woo-woo to try and like
Yeah.
say these things. It's not that I'm trying to like make up these truths and like hope that they become true. It's like these are actual real statements about myself and my body, and I don't believe them. And that's a problem. And that's a disconnect that I'm having with my own self. So speaking them, when you speak them and you hear them, and even if you write them, you see them, like we're tapping into now the sensory system while changing some of the constructs we have in our brain and our view of ourselves. So that's kind of like we're targeting all these different pieces of who, Jess is to
Mhm.
help Jess actually like work through this and heal from this instead of just continue to bump up against these walls and not actually see progress and healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that you mentioned on that I want to double click into, it's like when I'm working with somebody, we're in that hour window. When you're working with somebody, however long you're in that window of time with them, that's as you were saying, like that's where we show them, that's where we talk about the things, we go through the things, but really the magic happens outside of that all those hours that they're out on their own, they're in their day to day, right? Like that's where the transformation actually happens. And so when you get clients that are really coming from that place of like they're ready, they want to truly change this, they're ready to step up, they want to do the work no matter how hard it is going to be, because I think it goes without saying, like doing this type of work, it's not for the faint of heart. If you're digging into past traumas, again from the mental side, or even the exercises, like it can be challenging, it can be painful even going through some of the treatments, but knowing that you're going to get to a better, clear, more pain-free side, like, and using that as your North Star, that's yeah, I mean that makes it all worth it, definitely. But again, getting the people and being the people that want to do the work, I think is crucial.
Yeah, and you have to have those like anchors, those pieces that can help keep you focused and motivated. I mean, this is for anything in life. Like I love to run, and so I've run a couple marathons, and it's like, why do I want to run? Why do I want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go run, 10 miles before work or something? And it's like, well, I have a motivation for that. I have a desire for that, whether it's sunk cost bias at this point, I already paid the membership, the marathon entry fee, so I got to do it now, or whatever it is. Like there's a motivating factor that's keeping me waking up early and doing it. And it's similar with the vaginismus work. Yeah, this is hard. awkward, it's frustrating, it's exhausting. You don't want to do it, but what is it that is your motivation? What is it that's kind of anchoring you to keeping making that progress? And I think for some of us, it's easy to lose sight of that, especially if intimacy, you're able to have fun in other ways. Like most of us with vaginismus could write books about all the amazing fun that we can have without penetrative sex because we've been doing it for years. And so if you're content and happy in that, and you've lost sight of penetrative sex being this goal, then yeah, it's going to be hard for you to show up for yourself and do the hard work to get there because it's not the priority. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be the priority for everyone. But anyway, just saying like we need to have those motivation pieces. We need to have the big why are we doing this in front and center to keep us going on this hard journey of doing the mental, body, physical, somatic, sensory, all the work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know, as you said, like many people it's coming in, like they want to be able to have better sex or pain-free sex. And again, coming from the sex therapist lens here, it's like, it's not just about being able to have sex. It's it's probably that deeper connection that they're wanting either with themselves, with their partner, like all of that. Like that's what it gets down to, you know? So yeah, I think what you just said is great. Like really getting down to your why and the deeper why, and that can help you keep you motivated throughout the process.
Yeah. Yeah. My business is called Pain-Free Intimacy, which is true. Like my goal is to get you to have pain-free sex. But even more than that, I was like, should I have named it drama-free intimacy? Because it's not just like, like we can have intimacy without pain by doing other things.
Yeah.
But then you always kind of just have this like sitting in the background of like, this is consolation sex. This is secondary to what I could be doing. I'm only doing this because I can't have access to this thing. And so you still have a little bit of that like, frustration in the other things that we do. And so my goal is like, no, I want drama-free intimacy. I don't want to even have like, we're doing these other things, but there's still that looming in the background. I can't still do this. I still can't have penetrative sex. So anyway, it's all about pain-free, but it's also more about just like deepening our intimacy with ourselves, with our partners, with, how all this comes together in pleasure and connection to not even have to worry about, this one like off limits thing that I can't do.
Yeah. Or that again, like having that question pass through the brain, like, is it going to hurt? Is this going to be bad?
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or even you get to that, is he disappointed because we didn't do this? It's been 4 years now. Is he frustrated? Does he want more? And then you start like going into people pleasing mode and I'm not worth this kind of mode and all of this, like this. Yeah, is it gonna hurt is the big question, but it's also like, what is their perspective? How less am I? And so we go into those deep, dark places, even if you're still having fun,
Yeah.
but it's like, we want to get rid of that. We want to just like have confidence in the bedroom that doesn't bring all in this hard stuff.
Yeah. And I've seen it, women from the other side of it, like just in this place of like, don't touch me, like just fully shut off from herself, her pleasure, her sexuality, everything because of the painful, oh my gosh, painful sex. And yeah, and that can be hard, just like that place of self-hatred. I know that sounds so strong to say, but that's truly like what it comes off as, which is so sad. And to again know that there are ways that this doesn't have to be forever, right? Like pain is common and it is not normal. And there are answers, there are people out there that are willing to help you through this, like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's frustrating.
you talked about like partners, and I wanted to definitely touch on this because this can be frustrating, sad, however words you want to use if you are a person that has a partner with vaginismus. So can you talk through that? Like what tips would you give for people that are listening that might be in that boat?
And it's hard for both partners for sure. In their own unique ways. Like, the male partner, the husband will have his own challenges in this as well. But I know for most of the clients I get to work with, it seems like their partners are super supportive, like just really compassionate, kind, and understanding people. That's not always the case. I get stories on social media left and right from both men and women who are not of that mindset, but a lot of guys do really want to come beside their wives or their partners and just support them in this journey. And I love that. I think that's so inspiring and encouraging. My husband was amazing and so encouraging and supportive in this. He actually did a Vaginismus for Partners mini course within my program so that like the partner has something to kind of work through and understand how he can help his partner or his wife out or whatever more in this. He also does a partner support group once a month for my clients' husbands and stuff, so that they have a place to share. So there's definitely a huge, like, we see you, partner. We know that this is hard for you, and we know that you want to support your, partner with vaginismus. And so, how do you do that though? How do you come beside them and support them? I think one of the biggest things is to create space for them. It's not, vaginismus is not for the faint at heart. It takes a lot of work, effort. There's mental work, there's physical work. You're exhausted. You're either exhausted from doing your exercises and the dilators and all that, or you're exhausted from the mental load this is. It's not easy. It's hard. And so if whatever way you can create space for your partner to do their work and to just process is going to be huge. That may mean, like, some of my clients will talk about how their husbands will come home from work and just like do all of the non-fun things like cooking and cleaning and dishes, and create a space for their wife to go be in this room, do what you need to do. I'll be out here for the next hour and a half, and don't worry about any of this stuff. I've got it. And that's such the sweetest display of love and support in this place. Because, when you're sitting there, even sex is this way too. For those, your brain goes there. Your brain thinks about the laundry, the dishes, and everything. And if you're trying to battle vaginismus, that's the last thing you need, is to invite more tension into this. So by removing some of that tension for her is going to be huge. And so that's a really practical thing. The other thing is just helping her create a fun space, a safe space. And so with my clients, I have them create what I call a central safe space. And it's where you dilate, where you do your exercises and stuff, having that to be such a place of calm serenity for you. So that might be your favorite candle scent. It might be a really relaxing playlist on Spotify, which I created one for my clients to have. It could be just like having a list of your affirmations printed out next to your bed. It can be having plants, whatever. And so I encourage partners to go out with their wife or partner with vaginismus and go buy stuff for that space and help them develop the space and be a part of creating that space, because he needs to be someone that supports this and creates psychological safety in that space too, even if he's physically not present. But to know that he helped craft a safe space is going to matter for that transition from dilator to penetrative sex. So those are two practical things that guys can do, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think one thing I would add to is be like to educate yourself, listen to the podcast, read the books, like things like that, certainly. And I think what I hear a lot from, again, it is primarily male partners, but helping them to be able to set their ego aside as well. It's like, this is not a thing that you're causing to happen for her, because I think so many men go there. It's like, oh, well, she, her vagina is rejecting me, essentially, right? Like, it is that sense of rejection. So yeah, just like for the men that are listening, like, it's not about you, right? Like, and just like knowing that for yourself, it's not about you. And also there are things that you can do to help her, to support her, right? So it's like, not saying to remove yourself completely. And it's not like, oh, this is a you thing, you need to figure it out, but yeah, just want to just throw that in there.
Yeah, I'll actually say that is honestly one of the biggest parts too, is having the male partner understand, because, male sexuality, female sexuality works different. Like, for females, arousal and pleasure doesn't necessarily happen from us visualizing something. It is very much where we are at internally. Are we relaxed? Do we feel safe? Do we feel provided for? And that will bring pleasure and arousal. But for a man, a lot of times it's visual. And so I've had to kind of there is that education piece. Like, you have to understand how your wife's pleasure is. Like, she is perfectly able of reaching pleasure and orgasm outside of penetrative sex. This does not have anything to do with you. But for men, they can't get it up unless they honestly are visually aroused in a sense. And so it's hard for them to understand that arousal can happen outside that attraction piece. So it's not anything to do with her not being attractive to you. It's not anything to do with you didn't do something the right way for her. Is she has to get to a place of internal peace and calm and internal trust within herself and in the environment. So I think that's a hard thing for guys to understand, because they just don't process sexuality that way. But you're right, with education, we can get there and support them and the female partner in that.
Yeah, absolutely. This was so great, Jess. Thank you again so much for coming on to the show. As we are wrapping up here, is there anything else that we didn't cover about vaginismus that we need to talk through, or anything that we missed?
I think if you're someone who has vaginismus, well, first off, let me back up and say pain with sex is not normal. It's not okay. It's common. but it's not to be tolerated. If you are experiencing pain with sex, it's time to get this figured out. You deserve to have sex that's not painful. You deserve to have intimacy that doesn't have drama and worry. So don't tolerate this. You're worth having great sex and you're worth the investment of that. And then the second thing is if you're someone who's struggled with vaginismus or painful sex and you haven't found relief in either, just doing counseling or just doing pelvic floor therapy, you're not alone in that. Like, it does take a bit more support of your body. And so I just want to speak to that woman and say, you're not hopeless. You're not a failure. You haven't graduated to not reach your goal. You haven't failed. Like, there is hope for you and we can do this. We just got to switch gears a little bit and provide a better support for your body to get you there.
Yeah. Like it takes a village, right? Like that's what's coming up when you were just speaking. It's not just going to be one person likely that's going to be the end all be all.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we know where to find you on Instagram. We'll be over there to see all of your content and all of your helpful tips and everything that you share. So thank you so much for what you do and talking about it on your social media platform, because I know that just reaches so many people. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for people to be able to listen to this in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for creating space for this. It's definitely such an important topic, and I really am grateful for those who talk about it. Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you really fucking loved it, make sure to tag me on social media at @TheRachelMain. I'll see you next week.